I don't know if we're playing or not. Well, we're trying to see if the intro's playing. Maybe the intro's not going to play this evening. I'm sorry, everybody. And here we are, no driving gloves. Doing this live stream stuff is a little bit interesting because, hey, we got to be on time. I think we're going to have somebody joining us a little bit later. I really hope so. I'm going to get really boring because I really didn't come prepared to do a solo show tonight. But again, welcome to No Driving Gloves. We're doing the live stream stuff. You guys wanted us to do the live stream stuff. And got some feedback. Last week was kind of a surprise that we actually popped it up as a live stream. We're doing it again. We're only on the YouTubes as opposed to the Facebook and YouTube. Next week will not be a live stream. I've got to take the night off, but we've also got a pre-recorded show. Really good interview we did. And really hope you tune into that one. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Wonderful gentleman. Got a lot of things going on in Detroit. Things tying in with the Woodward Dream Cruise and that. Be sure to tune in for next week's episode. I'm really, like I said, at a loss. What's going on in the car world that's driving me crazy? I mean, hold on. Let's see here. Hold on. I got to type to Derek here. I guess he's joining us. He just walked in his door. Let's see here. I told him I'm already broadcasting. Join in when you can. If I could spell, my fingers are too fat for cell phones. I were like the old days with the Treos. Not that I'm going to encourage it, but I used to be able to pick up my Treo and be driving and type without ever looking at the screen. I think the problem with texting and driving really came to when we went to the iPhones and the touch screens. Not that I think we should text and drive, but it used to be all natural. You had firm buttons you can hit. And that actually, I think, will go a little bit into a topic. I think we've touched on it before, is all the touch screens and things that go into a car. Which was kind of funny because before Derek texted, I was thinking I want to talk a little bit about the new Ford Lightning and potentially the General Motors Hummer. I'm right there on the fence. I'm probably too late for it to make a difference, but I'm really thinking of going ahead and spending the $100 and getting on the list for a Ford Lightning. One of the reasons I waited is I don't know if I really want to pay for it in the fall. Maybe I want to pay for it next spring. And I really don't think they'll start delivering in the fall, as our episode last week discussed, or unless Will gets busy and makes his own microchips, we're going to have a very interesting, what do you want to call it, fall. Everybody's saying, the fall, we're going to catch up. We're going to catch up. We're going to catch up. Well, the fall is going to get the microchips that we need now. Where are the fall's microchips going to be? I mean, I think you just basically have to take 6 months and poof, and that's where we're at. And I mean, it's going to take a long time for everything to catch up to the microchip shortage. And it's the cars are built, everything, but okay, say Ford has their 30,000 F-250s parked at stadiums across the country, and they get a shipment of microchips. And they go ahead and ship the trucks, and they send them to the dealers, and then they ship the microchips out to the dealers. Did they get 60,000 microchips that day? Who knows? But are those microchips going to go into those trucks right away? Or are they going to go into the trucks on the assembly line? See, there's a lot of complications and things that go into the microchips. See what happens when I don't have a little outline in front of me telling me what to do, where I need the other guys so that you don't have to listen to me be bored and scatterbrained and thinking like that. Getting a lot of ums and oohs and ahs and things I absolutely despise. But that's, I guess we want to say, no driving gloves. We're coming here. We're talking about some things. I totally lost where I was going. As I said, I was thinking about ordering the Ford Lightning. I think the thing is phenomenal. I mean, the performance, the towing. Right now, they're saying the range is 300 miles. What are electric cars going to be in 6 months? What are they going to be in 12 months? Are we going to actually get, something that's 300 miles today as battery technology improves? We going to get 400? Is this truck going to come out with 400? I also found it really neat that the batteries are U.S. made for the truck. So there's none of this mining, exporting, re-exporting, mine it here, send it here, then process it, and then send it back so that it can be built, and then send it back. And, building batteries in this country is a really good thing. And I just, there's so many of these little trucks that are going to appear, but I think Ford's going to take it by storm. It really looks like they're actually going to come out at $39,995, and there's going to be some trucks that are going to be in that range. I guarantee you most of them will be spec'd out. It probably guessing in the 70s, maybe low 80s. I mean, they do technically go up to a base price of $96,000, but if we get up to a base price of $96,000, then all of a sudden you're into that new Hummer territory. And that thing, if there was a legacy to me to the Hummer, that really could be it. The amount of torque that has, the multi-configurable ways the drivetrain can run, the four-wheel drive, the all-wheel drive system, the completely variable torque splits, the way how it can steer with the electric motors, the modular battery packs, basically insert themselves into the frame and can be removed as big, massive units. Oh, why am I talking about electric cars? That's because I probably have been spending a little bit of time bouncing around Ford's website, looking at the Lightning and talking and thinking. And who knows, I'm kind of a technology geek and kind of like to spend money that I don't have. I'm getting better at it. So that's probably why I didn't rush out and order one. But heck, I'd have my name on the list for the Tesla pickup. I'd have my name on the Ford list. If General Motors is doing a Hummer list, I would have checked that out. I just want to be cool and have the first newest thing. Where am I going to go from there? I've kind of talked out a little bit. The show, you got to really let us know if you're liking this live stream. We're working on the backdrops and everything. I still have my green screen behind me, still working on some internet and processing things. I've went from low memory in my computer last week where we had some issues and added 32 gigs. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add the other 32 gig stick here and go ahead and bring this up to 64 gig computer so that we can live stream with some graphics in that. Could really make for some interesting interviews. Derek and I keep saying we've got some interviews coming up around the corner, and really excited to try to grab some of that stuff. And I'm actually thinking of doing, and I'll announce it. It's kind of my show. We'll live with it. Let's say if you, the first person to send an email in, we just might go ahead and invite on as a guest host. I think it'd be cool to have a listener come on and just chat with us. I mean, ask questions, field our questions. We're not going to interview you. We want you to be part of the group. So I'm going to say the first person who actually sends an email to nodrivinggloves@gmail.com, we're going to go ahead and have you on the show. It's going to be news to Derek and Will, but obviously they're not quite on time. So actually, I don't think Will's going to make it tonight. He had a pretty successful weekend showing that 57 Chevy of his or his clients. And I think they're getting ready for the next show. Of course, Derek's getting ready for his first outing with his Lloyd. He's been invited to a show with that, in addition to all the concours and that he's been invited to with the National Corvette Museum. So he's got a busy travel season ahead, and maybe if it's a successful guest spot, maybe he could become that 4th/5th guest host, because again, Sean joined us last week, and that's the first time in 2021 Sean had joined us. He's just buried with his business and production problems and supplier issues, and he's not immune from it. I mean, launched a business in a pandemic, doing pretty good, getting orders. And just like everybody else, I think that he's having some supply chain issues, and it's driving him nuts and driving him batty. And I don't even know if he's been on social media much since he'd been on was on the podcast last week. He's just been focused on what he needs to. I've been buried and focused on what I need to. I don't think, well, I said I don't have a day off for like 2.5 weeks straight. Sarah said to me this morning that I thought you didn't have a day off. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, you're home today. So I got up today. I edited a Small Business Birmingham podcast. I started editing a Point podcast. I started editing our interview, No Driving Gloves podcast. So yeah, I spent some time with my business trying to catch up. And that's, I prepped a little bit for the discussion that we talked about tonight and things that we were going to discuss tonight. But I wonder where Derek's at. He said he was just a few minutes off. Let's see here. You coming? If not, I'm really going to have to dig and do some quick internet searching and find us something to talk about. What amazing car news. If I say go to Facebook and I type in car news, let's see here. I've never typed in car news on Facebook to see what's going on. If it really provides anything. Boy, I bet you that's annoying me going. Oh, he says he's logging in right now. Maybe he's gonna come save us. I don't know if he is. Meet the Maverick. This one's neither a gambler nor a Ford. That's a classic. Oh, that's from Jeffrey Hacker, previous guest on the show back in the mid 100s, I think. We had Jeff on the show. It's been early last spring. I don't have my show inventory pulled up for me to quickly call back and reflect on that. But I guess, was there a weekly roundup of collector car show and vintage updates? Is that his? Let me click that through. Yeah, fiberglass. And yep, this is something that looks, I want to say, kind of like a cross between an Etzel and a Delahaye, and it's one of these things that his thing works for Forgotten Fiberglass, and it's really interesting. Forgotten Fiberglass is a interesting company in that I don't know how he does it. We talked about it on the show a little bit, never really dug into how he does it, but Jeffrey's been collecting these cars from the 50s for many years that, one-offs or two-offs, hand-built, they eventually became kit cars, but they're also prototypes and things coming into the world that are, I don't want to say, or people's dreams that they were producing in the 50s. And Jeffrey's been able to find and save and continue on with some of the, like I said, I don't know how he does it. He survived a hurricane, and many of these cars survived the hurricane with him, and he's back to restoring and showing. And I think he got into it back, I don't know, when he was a youth, and I don't know what era that was. His first car was a fiberglass prototype, and he still owns it. And this is like 35 years later. And what happens? You get these things and you fall into the hole, and you just never get out of it. I mean, I'm sure Derek can go ahead and talk about how he, fell into this hole of, what do you want to call it? His pre-war fetish with automobiles and things like that.
Wow, you're going to take it there. I show up a few minutes late and you take it there. Were you talking about our buddy Jeff Hacker? Is that who I was just hearing about?
Yeah, I was digging for news. I didn't have a script up for a 15-minute solo show.
Well, some of us Some of us run late every now and then, so I apologize to our listeners.
Those of you with paying day jobs, how dare you?
How dare we? Yeah, speaking of Jeff, I got to get with Jeff because I want to do a um, article with him on my Lloyd, and I mean he's done Forgotten Fiberglass and all of that, but he's now even stepped into the world. I'm trying to remember what is it. What's he calling his like? He's got Forgotten Fiberglass. Is the other one like Undiscovered Classics now?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yep, Undiscovered Classic is actually his current, and it's a much more appropriate name because some of the stuff he's digging out now is actually metal bodied and.
Oh yeah, and I'd like to get the Lloyd kind of on that Undiscovered Classics page and try to learn more about it. I'm actually pretty heavily working on it right now. Try to get it ready for a show in about week and a half. I don't know what it is anymore. But yeah, Jeff's a good guy. He finds a lot of crazy stuff. But wait, what do you want me to talk about, John? How I got involved in the pre-war
well, I was
stuff?
kind of saying, Jeff got into these fiberglass one-offs with the first car he ever had, and I can't remember what it's called. It's on on the header of his Facebook page. It's that shark thing. Yes. Sorry, Jeff, that I can't remember, but that sent him down this road, and he has never looked back. I imagine he has a Suburban or something for when he travels and finds these things and drags them out. Maybe that's his daily driver, but I really don't know what his daily driver is or anything like that. I was going to say he recently, within the last few days, had a birthday. Maybe that's your way to reach out to him.
Yeah, well, actually, he may have sent me an email in the last month that I haven't responded to because we've been working so extensively on the renovation of the restaurant at the museum and the new exhibit that opened up this past Saturday. So I apologize to anyone who has emailed me within the last month because it likely didn't get answered. I'll try to get back to you. So, yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about it on the show before, but so when I was growing up, not only, we had a smaller pole barn than what is at the house I grew up at now. But my dad had a 1937 Ford two-door sedan, trunk back, and it was a restoration project that was sitting idle, as he always said. He bought it in, I think it was 1973, and Mom and Dad got married in 1974. The 37 Ford is still not restored. Evidently, that's what marriage and children and things like that do to you. But I say that in jest a little bit, so hopefully no one takes offense. But over the years, of course, it's like me. You get into work, you get busy. The hobbies fall to the back burner sometimes, and so the 37 Ford always just kind of was sitting in the pole barn, and I guess that was my first kind of look at the pre-war cars. I grew up with that thing just sitting out in the barn, the flathead V8, and I knew what it was. I'd learned about it and read about it, and Dad talked to me about it. But probably the big thing was the fact that my dad, maintained for quite a few years what was the Mitchell collection in Owasso, Michigan, which sold off at auction a couple years ago now, maybe 5 years ago. And within that collection, there were not only the cars that the Mitchell Bentley, and then the Ionia Car Company and some of those things that Don Mitchell owned had built. So a lot of woody wagons that came out of the Ionia Car Company over in Ionia, Michigan. But Mitchell Bentley Corporation was a bodybuilder. They built like the Continental Mark II bodies, a bunch of stuff. But Don Mitchell and his son Bill Mitchell were related to the Mitchells that founded the Mitchell car corporation in Racine, Wisconsin, back in the, I think they started in the late 1900s or mid 1900s. I'm not remembering right offhand right now. And so there was one room that just had a lineup of the early horseless carriage, brass era, and nickel era Mitchell automobiles. And I spent a lot of time just in that room drooling over the cars. And so I have a lot of memories around that early brass nickel horseless carriage type stuff from that. And then the 37 Ford being at home. And I always dreamed of, finishing that car one day. Maybe we still will. Who knows? We'll see. So, I mean, that's what threw me into the whole thing. And Dad just restoring cars in general at the house throughout my life. A lot of Corvettes came through because my dad was a fiberglass guy. And so, we did a lot of those, a couple kit cars along the way, and just whatever kind of came our way. The 29 Roosevelt that we're finishing up is, one of the cars that we love and have been working on since I was at home before I graduated high school. So, Dad also has a slogan that evidently customer cars come first. So I don't know what that means.
Yes, I don't understand that. But
did that kill enough time and answer the question in a long, drawn out way?
Well, that's what I was going to say. We just had 7 minutes of ums and ahs out of Derek. So
Lord, here we go.
It made up with my ums and ahs. But now we need Derek to tap his microphone to make sure his microphone's actually working, because it sounds like he's on his computer. Yeah.
Check.
No, tap the microphone. Yeah, your microphone's turned off, dude.
Ah, well, that is not good.
You're coming through on the old laptop microphone with a lot of echo. It's a little blue light on the microphone. Or have you switched it in the settings? I don't know if I can do that on my end here for you or not. Nope, I can't. Let's see your guests. Nope, I can't do it on my end. You've got to do it on your end. You should have a selection for camera.
Is that better? Is that better?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Now when you tap it, we got it. So see, on the fly, that's why I'm always distracted. And
welcome to live podcasting.
Yes.
This was all John's idea. So don't blame those of us that are technologically inept at setting up our microphones, being live streaming, any of that. So
the listeners know I only texted 16 or 17 times to you, rushing you while you were trying to get on. So easily overlooked. So we know you've obviously been working a little bit late, struggling to get the Lloyd ready. I guess that's what's wrapped you up.
I have 2 text messages from John.
Well, they saw me doing it because that helped kill a minute or so of time. And not to mention, I had my technical issue at the beginning. I forgot to turn the volume up on our intro. So, hey, nobody had to sit through the intro today. This is no driving gloves and whatever. But we will have the outro for you, the long, drawn-out outro that Derek so loves.
Yes.
So when Derek and I were talking earlier today, or texting and finding out who was going to be on the show and who wasn't, and find out all the excuses, it was right after I saw a Facebook post from a former guest of the show, and he had posted this car. And he goes, I really don't know if I like this body kit, and I don't think I'm going to get one for my car. And it immediately sent me into this rage that I get. First of all, it's a wide body kit. I don't know. I'm not totally in the camera. Wide body kit. And I hate that term. I absolutely hate the wide body kit. We talked about it with Will and the Rocket Racing Camaro when he did a wide body. And it's one of these kits that looks like a Liberty Walk kit. it's got bolt holes all the way around the fenders, and that's how you put the kit on. You drill through, and they're not hidden fasteners. There's not caps that go over where and yeah, I guess it's a look, and people have come to accept it because we settle for subpar, half-ass work now. But that drives me nuts that it's half-ass. And then what drives me upset, or makes me even more upset, is calling it a wide body. They're fender flares. They're bolt-on fender flares. The whole lineup from Dodge and their Hellcats and then whatever, their wide body, they're fender flares. They're bolt-on fender flares. Wide body, go to the 1990 Corvette ZR1. That's a wide body. They made the car wider. It's what is it? 4 inches wider than a standard Corvette. And
I believe so. Yeah. But I'm going to stop you there because you don't have to go all the way back to that. The Corvette, any of the Corvettes, Grand Sport, ZR1, even in the C6, C7 generation, are wide bodies. The body is actually, it is wider than the Stingray or the base model Corvette. It is a true wide body from factory.
Yeah. What would be so hard for Fiat, Stellantis, Chrysler, whoever the hell they are today, to kind of make a couple of dies and make that car taper a little bit and not have these stupid bolt-on things that we talked about J.C. Whitney a few weeks ago, and I don't know if you really could, but you could order from J.C. Whitney when I was in high school. And guess what? Those fender flares had external fasteners, and that's how we made fun of them. You went and bought the really fancy stuff from, Ranchero or Bushwhacker. You couldn't see the fasteners, and that's how you knew cheap from good. But here we are in 2021, and let's spend, $20,000 on a Liberty Walk kit so some dude can rivet it on from the outside because he can't take a fender off or an inner fender panel and attach the thing properly, and that's just for the flares. But, we've got a wide body Cadillac. It's 6 inches wider than most Cadillac ATSs. And it all tapers. It's not fender flares or anything. There's a lot of body work in it. There's a fortune in it. And there's actually a pair of wide body front fenders for it that I know where they're at. I need to go get them. They're not on the car right now. But it would be, that's a wide body. The stuff that everybody's calling a wide body now, it irks me so much that, I told Derek, let's just go ahead and come up with some terms that frankly piss us off, and we hate seeing them used. So I threw out wide body. Did you bring anything to the table, Derek? Or otherwise I got a list.
Where do you want me to start?
Well, I know I got one on the list. I got one on the list that I know you got.
It's probably going to be the same rant I'm going to go into right now, which is unrestored and survivor. I hate those terms. It's not that I hate them. It's the fact that we need to define them in the automotive world, especially in the collector car world. We need to define them clearly, and everyone in the hobby needs to accept them.
Well, I thought we had defined them because there is this wonderful term, unrestored survivor.
I have no comments. But we need to decide, number one, where we're going to draw a line. And I get it. It gets very, very difficult because there are so many varying degrees of what can be acceptable. And it's very frustrating. Oh, and the other one, and probably if I haven't already hit it, John, can I take a guess what the one might be that's on your list that you think is probably the one that bothers me the most? Museum quality.
That's not on my list, but I think museum quality is a well-defined term. Unfortunately, most people have the wrong definition of it.
Museum quality is a very poorly defined term in the automotive world.
It came out of a museum. It has to be the absolute best, most pristine, most accurate example of whatever we're talking about. You know, whether it be a car, whether it be a watch, whether it be a television set, it has to be absolutely perfect. It came out of a museum. Isn't that right, Derek? I keep leaving the man speechless.
No. It museum quality is not an over restored vehicle or watch or clock or anything. It just is not. Maybe in some museums, and I apologize to those who accept that. But museum, as I've said, and this is the way I view it as a museum curator, and not just as the director of collections and curator for the Corvette Museum, but in the museum world in general, there is no way to define museum quality, because every artifact has a different story, and each story means that artifact is going to have a different quality about it. There is no museum quality, because the 1906 locomobile that won the 1908 Vanderbilt Cup race, known as Old 16, that's at Henry Ford Museum, is museum quality. But it's an unrestored car that has paint losses. It shows patina. It has age. And that's perfect, because it's had a life that it has lived. And that patina tells the life that car has lived. There may be a watch in a museum that, the Mona Lisa. Okay, let's go with the Mona Lisa. Everybody knows the Mona Lisa. And I jumped that because Old 16 is called the Mona Lisa of the automotive world. The Mona Lisa is not perfect in any way. It shows its age. It's, crazed. It's not a pristine, perfect piece of artwork hanging on the wall at the Louvre. It is not even close to that. Now, are there other pieces? I mean, there's modern art that's hanging in art galleries. I mean, Andy Warhol's, Jackson Pollock's, that have no age to them right now, or maybe only a little, because they've only been painted within the last 70, 75 years. And yeah, they look pristine, and they're probably going to stay looking fairly pristine because they're in an art institute that has art conservators that are going to keep them that way. They're going to be under greater care than something like the Mona Lisa or necessarily Old 16 had been in its early life, when it was just a painting or just an automobile. And, there are the cars that are in museums that have historic significance that are more modern. The Corvette Museum, we have the very last front engine Stingray that will ever be built. It's a C7 Corvette. It was the second to last C7 built, and it was the last front engine Corvette to carry the Stingray name badge. And it was acquired by the museum to preserve that part of history. And guess what? You're right. That car looks brand new, and it always will, because it is in the museum's care, and that is the way we will keep it. So tell me how you can have a museum quality vehicle.
Well, I think
can't.
You actually said something right there. And not only do you have this absolutely pristine 2019 C7 Corvette, you also have these other Corvettes in the museum that would be constituted museum quality that you pulled out of a hole, did you not? And
yes.
And that's not exactly museum quality that I'm going to drive around town. I mean, by definition, those are museum quality, because a museum found it fit that they were historically
significant.
Yes, enough to display the way they are, and not restore them or scrap them, because I believe the ones that, and I may be wrong, and this is just me trying to remember, the ones that were not restored were beyond restoration. It was either preserve this moment in history or make them into Tupperware. So I guess you get your auction catalog without photos and you say, what, 1990, blah, 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 Corvette.
1993, 40th anniversary, ruby red Corvette.
Yeah. Museum quality.
Here's the thing. There's a great example. I talk to people. So 5 cars are left unrestored. 3 have been restored because they were not terribly damaged. The Blue Devil ZR1, the prototype ZR1 from the C6 generation, known as Blue Devil, the 1 millionth Corvette, historically significant in its own right, and the 1962 Tuxedo Black Corvette. All 3 of those had very minor, what I would call very minor damage, took very little to truly get the cars back to where they belong. And a majority of the car stayed with its original finishes. They did not restore every single part of the car. Pardon me, I'm about to sneeze. Okay, I'm back. And but the other 4 of the cars are basically one of a kinds. There's the PPG pace car, the 1.5 millionth, what was the only remaining ZR1 Spider of the 2 C4 ZR1 Spiders they built, and a mallet hammer conversion C5. Those 4 are irreplaceable. If you're going to replace them, you're going to be building a replica of the car because they're so far gone. There's no way to use parts off of those cars to bring them back. Now come to the 1993 40th anniversary Corvette that fell into the hole, what the people called the ruby red cars. And I mean, when you look at it, it's not horrible. It's very evident that it fell in the sinkhole. You don't see some of the undercarriage damage, obviously the way it's displayed, some suspension, broken suspension that would take a lot to repair. But the reason that car was elected to be left alone is because there's thousands of those 30th or 40th anniversary ruby red Corvettes running around on the streets. As a matter of fact, we have another one in the collection that is all original, left, never has had any damage. It's the way it came out of the factory, just with some miles on it. So to restore the ruby red Corvette that fell into the sinkhole would probably actually remove the most historically significant moment in that Corvette's life. And that's what makes especially that car's damage museum quality, because it's not just another ruby red Corvette driving around on the streets or sitting in the museum looking pristine. It is the ruby red Corvette that fell into the sinkhole and still shows the damages from that day. That's museum quality.
I guess I don't have a comment to that because, I mean, I don't know if you can really cite a better example of museum quality and really explain it on how it can be so drastic, because those were perfect cars. I saw them a couple of months before they took their excursion 80 feet down, and they were perfect cars, or damn near perfect cars, running, driving, usable things. And now they are icons of a moment in time. It would be like if it was true, pulling the 19, whatever it was, I want to say 16, but that'd be wrong, 1908 Renault up from the Titanic that, Jack was writing poetry on, or Rose was posing nude on. I can't remember exactly what happened around that car, but supposedly that Renault that was in the movie, if that actually existed and you were able to bring that up from the Titanic, it would be a huge disservice to that car to restore it into another 1908 Renault, because there's other 1908 Renaults, but there's no 1908 Renault. So
actually, funny story or interesting tidbit about that. basically what is considered the sister car to that car. It was built, I believe, maybe even the same day, and identical body, identical, everything's pretty much identical about it. Still exists. That car is out there. So you can see what that car, what the Renault that's on the Titanic sitting at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean looks like. I believe the one that still survives is blue and the one that was on the Titanic was red. I don't remember exactly, but like you say, why would you bring it up? Why it's relevant where it is. And it's funny that you talked about the Titanic, because I was actually kind of leaning towards talking about famous shipwrecks. And, you don't bring up a famous ship and go through it and restore it. They bring up famous ships that have sunk and they conserve them. I specifically am thinking about the Hunley because I actually got a chance to go see that.
Well, remember, at a point in my career, I actually did conservation work to Titanic artifacts and Carpathia artifacts. So
exactly,
I'm very familiar with trying to preserve that. And we did it with deck chairs. We did it with coffee. I want to say these gorgeous brass coffee pots, but they had kind of collapsed in on themselves, and we could have made them round again and everything, but it destroys their point in time. And the one I love to discuss, the bedpans that sat next to my desk when I was at that job. Porcelain bedpans, White Star Lines logos, gold, 24 karat gold trim, and all this. These were the bedpans that were put in the staterooms. These actually came and they were never used, and they still even had their tissue paper in between them. And when we brought them up and we conserved them, did all the conservation work and separated them, the tissue paper is still perfect, and you can read the White Star Lines. And that really says a lot to me on, it's not fake, but it did, this massive ship and everything that gets destroyed around it, and porcelain bedpans and tissue paper survived in perfect shape. And that story just always, looking at those things always just, kind of floors you when you think about it. Go back to your shipwrecks.
This show is a shipwreck, sir. No. No, I'm just, I guess if I had to pick one term in the, even if we're going just the collector car hobby, and I had to say, I had the power to say, please stop using that phrase and no one ever use it again, it would be museum quality. Because in my opinion, there is no way to define a museum quality artifact because of what I said before. It depends on the artifact and the story that it's telling. And it's, as you say, John, it's, and we say it in conservation all the time, it's moment in history or it's moment in time. What is the moment in time you're trying to capture of the story? The Jim Clark Lotus, it was trying to capture the moment it crossed the finish line at the 65 Indianapolis 500.
Well, we did that when I was at the Barber Museum. I was involved with the conservation. I actually had to push a lot for what I did with a 1962 Lotus 27. The car was raced in 62. In the fall of 62, the guy put it in his basement and it never came out again. We eventually acquired the car, and you could restore it, make it look like every other Lotus 27 on the planet. But I took it to the absolute extreme in the conservation, where every bolt went back into the exact same hole, and to the best of my ability was in the exact same position when it finished. It's still tight, but if it was a slotted screw and the head was running 1 to 8 o'clock or 1 to 7 o'clock, it went back in 1 to 7 o'clock. I took notes that precise. There was a mistake made by another technician working on it that destroyed portions of trying to preserve this thing exactly to 1962. And part of that was, Mr. Barber still wanted it to run. That's part of what they say about the Barber collection. Everything runs, but the brake lines, took them out, figured out how to clean them, figured out, just everything on that. The cracked fiberglass that could have been repaired, the paint touch-ups that could have been done. So that's museum quality. And I don't think I would ban the term. I don't think any of these terms, depending however many we get to, need to be banned. I just think people need to be educated on the proper definitions. Like I went off on wide body. You went off on museum quality. I'll say one of the other ones and gets talked about a lot is Roadster. Your Lloyd's a Roadster, correct?
It is 100%.
And they haven't made a Roadster since 96, if I'm not mistaken. There's not been a production Roadster. They call the Miata Roadster. No, it's a 2-seat convertible. It's got roll-up windows and it has door handles. The last Roadster, I think, that was produced by a major manufacturer was the 92 to 96 Dodge Viper in RT10 form, which the coupe didn't come till 97. And that's when they added door handles and roll-up windows to it. Prior to that, it was side curtains and no exterior door handles. It did have the roll bar, which kind of makes it a little fuzzy. But I go crazy when people say it's a 2-seat Roadster and it's a BMW Z3 or a Porsche Boxster. And people just have come to accept these terms. And the purists among us don't have much say in it. I think in the description of the show, I said, these terms are just becoming marketing terms. Museum quality is a marketing term to make something sound better than what it is because nobody understands what it means. Wide body. Ooh, it's cool. It's wide body. It goes fast. I bolted on fiberglass fender flares that I buy at AutoZone. It's these little terms. I mean, they're great terms and they work, but nobody understands what they mean. I mean, do we sell any manufacturer right now? Does anybody actually sell a 4-door car?
See, I have to ask questions now.
Yeah.
Because are you talking about, you said a 4-door car. Are you talking about a 4-door sedan, a 4-door hardtop? What type of car?
Exactly.
There are a lot of 4-door cars out there.
There are a lot of cars with
sedans.
4 doors.
Are they hardtops? What are they?
Yeah. A 2-door post, It's
is it a pillarless coupe?
Yep. There's these terms that we better not say the ones they're not using because they'll reinvent them like we have these 4-door coupes now, which are now actually 4-door SUVs that are coupes. And that's one of 4-door coupe is not a word that should exist. I'm actually going to Google something.
No, that literally 4-door coupe does not. That if I remember it right, isn't that what they call an oxymoron? Isn't that like jumbo shrimp? And I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that are out there that I can say that won't get me in trouble. But there is no coupe is a certain definition, and believe me, folks, it does not involve 4 seats.
The actual Oxford definitions. I just typed it in. Coupe. 1, a car with a fixed roof, 2 doors, and a sloping rear. The historical definition, and keep in mind, that's not the historical definition. That's just the commonplace definition. Where 4-door, 4-seat, 6-passenger SUV comes into that definition. Fixed roof and a sloping rear. I see that. The historical definition is a 4-wheeled enclosed carriage for 2 passengers and a driver.
Yes.
That is the historical definition. Mm-hmm. I guess definition number 1 is now a historical definition because I guess, I say Pontiac started it with the Aztec. It was a 4-door sloped roof or sloped rear fixed roof car. And I really say that's what led the way to the BMW. Is it? I don't even know what they call it. X6, M6, the 4-door coupe or the 5 or whatever.
But Pontiac didn't call it a coupe. Pontiac didn't say the all new Pontiac Aztec 4-door coupe or coupe.
And
they didn't. It was a crossover. It was somewhat an SUV. They weren't trying to call it a coupe. And John, as you point out, I want to make sure people understand that all of these terms come from the carriage industry. These have been around for a lot longer than automobiles. Coupe, Brougham, sedan, all of it has been around from the days of the carriage. So I think we need to bring Chariot back. Yes, the all new. It would be the all new. What car would we do it to?
See, you're bringing up terms, and some manufacturer is going to listen to us, and the next release of the Miata will be a Chariot.
Ooh, I've got it. The all new Ford Maverick mini truck Chariot.
Well, I was just going to say, do we realize that the Lamborghini Urus and the new Audi SQ8 or whatever that's called, which is the Audi I heard described, and I actually had a friend just get one this week, and I told him how I had heard it described. The new Audi SUV, supercar SUV, is the Lamborghini Urus with the Pontiac Aztec removed. But neither one of those manufacturers call those sport coupes or 4-door coupes. And technically, to me, they're closer to it than Mercedes or BMW. I'm glad they don't. Those manufacturers don't, and Porsche doesn't. With the Macan has a really sloping rear, but they don't do it. But I guess there is a Cayenne now they call a 4-door coupe, where it has a slightly more exasperated slope to the rear and making the back seat virtually unusable, but it still has 4 doors.
So quick question. When you are driving or riding in an Audi, are you innie an Audi?
Yeah, you're an innie an Audi.
Yeah, you're innie an Audi, right?
But then you become double, and then you're Audi and Audi.
Oof, yeah. Then you're Audi and Audi. Huh, yeah, well, that's when the bank takes it back. You're Audi and Audi.
Yep.
I really like the idea. I'm going to pitch this. I think something should become a Chariot.
Yeah, I don't know if the new Maverick would make a good Chariot.
Yeah,
but
the problem is it would have to be.
You are talking Ford, so it could be the new Lincoln Continental Chariot.
There we go. Well, the problem would be, though, it would have to be like the old delivery trucks. Remember the old standing drive?
Like the old Devco milk trucks?
Yeah, the Devco milk trucks and stuff where the guy stood to drive it.
Yep.
They'd have to go back to that because, the Chariot you stood up in. You didn't sit in the Chariot. So it'd have to be a standing only vehicle.
Why would it? A coupe?
Oh, wait, that's right, because we're changing everything. That's right.
We're changing the definition of the word. That's why a Lincoln Continental Chariot sounds great. But you could say, how you classify it as a Chariot? It has 2 sunroofs. That makes it a Chariot.
Because then it's more open top. Yeah.
See, I was thinking that the
well, shoot, if Chariot is just a dual sunroof vehicle, my wife has a wonderful brand new GMC Acadia Chariot. It's got 2 sunroofs.
Yeah, and I'm thinking Cadillac's got the perfect vehicle. Instead of calling it the XT5, their new SRX replacement sport utility, that should just be the Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
Look at that. We just solved all the world's problems.
Yeah, and when we get real names back to these cars. So, give me another one.
Actually, I was just noticing your shirt when you moved. Is this like a what was the TV show I'm thinking of with the Tigers? Joe Exotic. Is this something? Was that the name? The show with the Tigers and Joe Exotic.
No, I
You
decided
kind of got that vibe going on right now.
I decided the other day I needed to buy some new clothes, and there's a certain look that I like, and it seems to be popular again, even though it doesn't include a mullet. And yeah, this shirt falls into it. I mean, Zara saw it and said, "Ooh, you know, that kind of looks Hawaiian." I said, "But it kind of looks Hawaiian, but it's not." But she goes, "Yeah, it is." I don't think it's Hawaiian. I mean, it's just black and rust colored or black and copper colored. Yeah, I posted something about that show. Maybe it has the name. No, it doesn't. It's just a tweet from O.J. Simpson that says, "I'm convinced that Carol Baskin murdered her husband."
Yeah, that show. Yeah.
With the reply, finally an expert has weighed in.
There we go.
You know, I don't get it. You know, O.J. wasn't found guilty, so he didn't do it. You know, there's another word that we could redefine: guilty.
Okay. Do you want more? Because I'm sure I've got more, and I know I have more. And John, you've probably dealt with this too in the conservation world, but the term dry rot. Does that word not bother you, especially around like wood? Because dry rot is what it is, you know, people call it dry rot. Let's call it, I guess it's kind of a layman's term, if you will. But, and I'm sure you know this, John, what people think is dry rot is a type of fungus that grows in the wood and causes it to do what it's doing. It's actually a disease in the wood, or a fungal growth that causes that.
It's just microscopic termites.
Dry rot just it bugs me, and people say it about tires too, dry rot. And rubber doesn't really dry rot. It's a chemical reaction that occurs that leads rubber to get hard and brittle and break apart and do the things it does.
Yeah, but if you put enough armor all on it, it stays wet. So when it stays wet, it doesn't dry rot. I think.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, see, we just hit the hour point, and Eric just went home. Wait, he's home already.
Yeah, as one of my favorite lines from a TV show. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Take my ball and I quit this.
But I don't know if it bugs you. But when I hear somebody say, "Oh, it's dry rotted," I'm like, "Oh God, it's not dry rotted."
No, it's, you know, all these people out there with their 4-wheel drive CRVs and RAV4s and 4-wheel drive minivans. I'm envious. I mean, 4-wheel drive in a minivan. How did we get on to
4-wheel drive and minivan off dry rot? Where is this going?
I just hopped.
Or are you complaining about 4-wheel minivans being 4-wheel? Now, okay, wait, because here's some more terminology that's an issue. Is it 4-wheel drive or is it all-wheel drive?
There's where I'm going. There's not a such thing as a 4-wheel drive CRV. They're all-wheel drive. Well, those that aren't front-wheel drive. Those that have all 4 wheels powered, they're all-wheel drive. 4-wheel drive is a mechanical engagement where all the wheels are powered and usually equally with no torque differential or wheel speed differential. All-wheel drive is usually controlled by some sort of adjustable differential, fluid differential. I mean, it gets complicated and technical, but when you turn a true 4-wheel drive on dry pavement, it makes some bad noises.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, I hate people telling me that, you know, they have something that's all-wheel drive and it's 4-wheel drive and they don't understand the difference. But it's, you know, we're quickly racing to the end, almost like we've got a turbo on our car. Oh, wait, that's a model trim level now. I'm sorry.
Wait, is it a turbo or is it supercharged?
Turbo is supercharged is okay. But, you know, I have yet to see a picture of the Porsche Taycan's turbocharger.
Oh, it's there.
Yes.
It's top secret.
You know, I was better when turbo was used with the word boost, and it just meant your car could fly for short periods of time. But now that we've now taken turbo from an actual performance or performance enhancing component and turned it into, I guess I have a Ford Fusion SE, or I had a Ford Taurus SHO. Now it's just a trim level. You know, I could have a Ford Taurus SHO turbo or a Ford Mustang Mach-E turbo, and that would just be the highest, you know, trim line in, or be a Turbo S. But, you know, Porsche might have a problem with that. But for them to start using the word turbo as a name, and you know they're going to trademark it, so now we're not going to be able to call any turbo car a turbo. It's, I don't know. I think I'm just.
Thanks for frustrating me tonight, John. I'm glad we went over this, and you know, when we get Will in here, we're gonna have to go over the rest of our list, because I'm sure there's some. You know what? I just want Will to just get on here and just say something to the effect of, "So, Will, you building any new street rods?"
Yeah, that I can almost live with that one because I make that mistake. But what I want to know is he building any new gasohol powered street rods?
I'm still waiting for the first electric hot rod or street rod out of Big Oak Garage. That's what I want to see.
All you got to do is commission a job. He'll build it for you.
No.
You've got an extra chassis or car laying around that place. Ship it up to Will and say, "Hey, make it electric."
I've got plenty of extra.
As a matter of fact,
vehicles laying around.
As a matter of fact, if you want to fund it, tomorrow I'll have my Chrysler taken up to him, and let's make it an electric hot rod.
Yikes! That would take a lot of power.
It's got a
big old boat.
A lot of battery room.
Yeah, but you just add more weight to it with all those batteries that you need to power the thing because it's so massive.
You could also do a solar roof to it, which heck, that would almost power it in itself, as big as the roof is.
That'd be kind of cool.
You know, instead of having that carbon fiber look across the roof and the hood and the trunk, you just do it all solar panels. You know, we've got this carbon fiber background to our show tonight. For those that are watching the streaming,
except for I don't know who did the body work on that, but that's horrible. That carbon fiber is waving all over the place.
Yeah, it looks cooler when it's waving. Texture, 3 dimensions. Well, that would kind of be cool too as a finish on a car.
A wavy carbon fiber?
Yeah, I mean they carpet cars now, so why can't you? I mean, you can do a suede wrap. Why couldn't you have wavy carbon fiber?
Well, that actually would be, I mean, it wouldn't have to actually be wavy. I see what you're saying. You're saying actually make the graphic appearance be wavy, but it's actually a smooth car.
No, I mean, let's texture the damn car.
You know, my chemistry teacher in high school had a theory about that. And it was very interesting because he was chemistry and physics. And he was obsessed with, or I shouldn't say obsessed, but he enjoyed science, obviously, and talked a lot about the stealth aircraft, so stealth bombers. And of course, the way that works is a lot of severely angled panels that bounce the radar around, and when it actually reflects back, typically creates a much smaller appearance on the radar of the object that it's bouncing off of. And so he kind of had a theory. And then, of course, also thinking about golf balls, and the reason golf balls are designed the way they are with all the little, Can we call them divots in the golf ball? Because
Dimples.
Dimples. There we go. Dimples.
I was waiting to
helps,
go to the golf balls.
it causes better aerodynamics going through the air. The golf ball can actually cut through the air better. And so he always had this idea to build a stealth car, but also use the idea of the dimpling of the golf ball and create a more aerodynamic, efficient / stealth automobile by using severely angled panels, but also having dimples in the correct places to cause better aerodynamic flow going through while you're driving.
Well, if you actually want to go jump down that, there's all kinds of articles on the internet. Can golf ball dimpling or golf ball coverings improve your miles per gallon? A dimpled car experiment. There's a YouTube video, I guess, on that one on 24/7 Science from 2017. There's actually been, looks like it's been talked about on F1 cars, dimpling the finish. So see, I'm way ahead with my 3-dimensional carbon fiber. I'd even settle for dimpled carbon fiber.
There you go. And also another interesting one to look at if you're looking at not really aerodynamic flow, but fluid dynamics, which aerodynamics is somewhat part of fluid dynamics. Shark skin. Shark skin, the way it is naturally developed, is one of the most efficient fluid dynamic animals there are. The way the water actually flows, not only over the shape of the shark, but the shark skin, the way it actually flows the water past it, is incredibly efficient. It's a very interesting scientific study. Wow, we really got off track here. No driving gloves.
Yep. Well, I'm going to wrap it up and say I did a little bit further looking, and the YouTube video is actually from, I can't get the episode date, but Mythbusters did it in 2009, early on in their series. And it was a Jamie and Adam experiment where they took looks like a Subaru. Could be a Taurus, but it might, it's either a Subaru or a Taurus. And they could be a Contour, but something like that, and did a dimpled finish to see if it goes faster and got better gas mileage. But believe it or not, Derek, we're at an hour 8 right now, so we went a little bit long.
Just making up for being late. You're welcome.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the listeners only give us 60 minutes. And actually, the YouTube crowd only gives us 8. So,
well, hopefully it's been the last 8.
It was probably some of the most educational, other than when we actually defined what a coupe is. But I think I'm going to get in my 4-wheeled chariot with a driver and maybe another passenger and scurry on out of here.
Yes, I say, Jeeves, take me home.
Well, we're going home. Thank you for listening, and remember to look us up at nodrivinggloves.com. There you can find back episodes, links to products we recommend, and links to all of our social media. Be sure to tell a friend about us. No Driving Gloves is edited and produced by J. Lewis Productions.